2021 has been the worst f***ing year ever because somehow it managed to be even worse than 2020. In October of last year, I decided to wait for the RTX 3080 Ti instead of buying an RTX 3080, and we all know how that really didn't turn out to be a great decision at all. But my current PC is showing its age now, so after 9 months of frustration and waiting and some serious difficulties in being able to find most of the components in stock, we are finally going to bring my vision into reality today. Hey guys, I am Siddharth and let's build our new PC. The case that we'll use in our build is the Lianli PC-O11 Dynamic XL, and even though I really wanted to go with something different after using the O11 Dynamic, there just isn't a case that can match the perfection and aesthetics of these Lianli cases, and the XL version will allow me to store more hard drives along with having more space so I can quickly swap components in it. It's a good idea to have some headroom over the recommended power specification with the RTX 30 series, so we are going to use the ROG Strix 1000W PSU here, and the OEM for this 80 Plus Gold unit is actually Seasonic, who makes some of the best PSUs, which is why I got this. It does feature some fancy aesthetics and swappable magnetic stickers, but we are putting this in a case where none of it is going to be visible, so that is a little unfortunate. For the motherboard, we have the Asus X570 ROG Crosshair 8 Dark Hero Wi-Fi, and this really is one of the best X570 motherboards with a passively cooled chipset and lots of USB ports, which I was in a great need of. In addition to its top-tier performance, Asus motherboards also have the best software and BIOS in addition to Aura Sync, which will really make my life easier with the amount of RGB we are going to have in this PC. We'll also add one custom PSU extension cable from Tweaked PC at this step. The CPU that we are going to use definitely needs some serious cooling power, which will be provided by the Lianli Galahad 360 AIO liquid cooler, and in addition to matching really well with our build in this white color, the performance of this cooler is also really great. But we are not going to use the stock fans that come with this because we have 6 of Lianli's SL120 Unifans, which are going to look amazing on top and bottom of this case because of their side mounted RGB LEDs, and these fans also connect to each other, so we'll only need a total of 4 cables to provide power to the fans and to control their RGB with Aura Sync, which really makes installing multiple fans much less of a headache in a build like this. Now we'll remove the extra SSD brackets from our case because for our intake fans on the side, we have Corsair's QL120 RGB fans, and these also feature LEDs on their backside, so even when you install these as intake, you still get the beautiful ARGB visible in your case. And while I couldn't get them in their white version, the black version also seems to match the aesthetics of this build really well. The O11 Dynamic XL features an easily removable bracket for mounting our bottom intake fans, which will make the installation much easier here, and I haven't talked about the performance of all of these fans, but they all are pretty high-end, so they have excellent noise levels and static pressure performance. For our boot drive, we have an NVMe SSD from the Indian brand Astra, and I have been using this as my boot drive for 10 months now without issues, so if you wanted a long-term review of it, it has been performing quite well. We have also added a Samsung SATA SSD here, and the Crosshair 8 Dark Hero supports SATA SSDs in both of its M.2 slots, which I haven't found to be the case even on some other very high-end motherboards. My CPU of choice is unsurprisingly the AMD Ryzen 9 5950X with its 16 cores, 32 threads and a massive 72 MB cache. This is really more than twice as fast as my 9900K while also being way more efficient, and in addition to being one of the best value processors for rendering workloads, it also excels in single-threaded performance and gaming. It still blows my mind how AMD was able to put 16 cores on a non-HDD CPU that can also deliver top performance for gaming with its Zen 3 architecture. We are going to install 32GB of G-Skill's Trident Z RAM in this mixed Royale set running at 3200 megatransfers per second, and we are going to bump that number up to 3600 as I have mostly never had issues with running these sticks at that speed, which is the sweet spot for Zen 3 CPUs. We are also going to use Astra Kavach Pro thermal paste, which has some really nice thermal conductivity specs. And the metal CPU block on the Galahad cooler also looks really great and professional, and it really adds a lot of character to builds like this one. We'll also be adding one of the Lian Li fans that came with the AIO, which also looks great in this pure white color, and it will also add a splash of RGB to our motherboard's IO cover. The Corsair Lighting Note Core actually doesn't support their lighting strips like the Lighting Note Pro, so it is really fun to explore the Corsair ecosystem to further complicate your RGB setup. We also have Lian Li's streamer cables here, and I never thought that I would get RGB extension cables, but these do look really amazing if you use one of their more tasteful effects. You do have to flip the combs around if you want to use these for vertical GPU, which does take some time to do. I was also able to find a really nice place to stick the hub for these, and this hub actually doesn't support USB connection, so you do have to press these buttons manually if you want to use the advanced RGB effects for the streamer cables. As you can see that our cables have already become quite difficult to manage, so I do have to give a shout out to Webhub for patiently tying these tightly with some velcro straps. The GPU we have with us is the MSI RTX 3080 Ti Supreme X, which is even larger and heavier than my already massive 2080 Ti Gaming X Trio. I also wanted this Supreme X version specifically because I think that it will go really well with the cuboidal shape of the O11 Dynamic XL and its clean aesthetics. And with its massive heatsink and size, the performance on this is also top level. I did end up paying more than what I would have paid for a 3090 when that was released, but this is also practically as fast as a 3090, so this is what I tell myself to be able to comfortably sleep at night. We are going to use a Cooler Master vertical mounting kit version 2 to install this GPU vertically, but this kit has a PCIe 3.0 riser cable, which will mean that the PC won't boot up without manually setting the motherboard's PCIe slot to Gen 3. Being on PCIe 3.0 will mean that we may be losing out on 1 or 2% performance compared to PCIe 4.0, but that is not a big deal because we are already getting a 10% boost in FPS because of all the RGB, and I'll see if I can get a proper PCIe 4.0 riser cable in the future. For additional storage, we also have a 10TB WD Gold data center hard disk drive, which actually needed active cooling in my previous case, so we'll see how this case handles it. And we have another 3TB WD Blue drive, which I may replace with another 10TB drive once I run out of storage. We were able to close the panels very easily this time because the cable management was not horrible, and I really like how you can quickly install and remove the different panels on these Lian Li cases. So after all this work, we tried to see if the PC boots up on the first try, but it didn't happen because we set the PCIe slot to Gen 3 using my 2080 Ti so that we don't have to disturb the streamer cables, but for some reason this method didn't work. So after an hour of frustration and swapping between different cards, the only method that worked for us was installing the 3080 Ti horizontally first and then installing the vertical mount with the GPU. I also added a single Corsair lighting strip in a corner later to make the GPU more visible, along with adding the anti-sag support that comes with it, because even on vertical mount, this was sagging a little due to its weight. For our displays, we have two 4K 60Hz IPS monitors on left and on top, and my main monitor is the LG 27GN950, which runs at 4K 160Hz, and it is the reason why I wanted to upgrade the GPU. The Logitech G815 is the best keyboard for me at any price. I love its low profile switches and I just cannot go back from these. The Logitech G604 is also the mouse of choice for me. My head audio headphones deliver extremely detailed sound with a very wide and accurate soundstage for gaming, being the world's first full-range air motion transformer driver headphone. And to drive these, we have the RME ADI2 Pro FSR BE with its advanced balanced out headphone connection. The ADI2 Pro also drives my Adam A5XS, which again have a very detailed and three-dimensional presentation to their sound with extreme levels of detail and extension in high end. So now let's see what the final result of all of this effort looks like. And well, I am quite pleased with how the build turned out to be. Even though that GPU Gen 4 thing really became a headache, there is always something in every build that I do that wastes time for no reason. But the PC does look pretty nice, and of course, the main reason for upgrading is the performance, which is also really great with this. This is around 40% faster than my previous PC in gaming, and for video rendering, the 5950X should save me 10 to 30 minutes for every video that I make, which can add up to a lot over time. So I am really looking forward to making some nice videos with this. And by the way, the 80mm Noctua fan did have to make a comeback, as I am actually getting worse HDD temperatures than the O11 Dynamic. Here is a price list if you are looking to build a similar PC, and I am intentionally not including the price that I paid for the GPU here because that is all over the place because of the current situation, and I don't want any seller to quote that amount as the expected value for the GPU. But you can look up on the major websites and you will see how horrible the situation is currently, and I would have recommended just waiting till the situation improves, but I am really not sure if that is going to happen anytime soon, and this is why I didn't wait any further than this. I will also be sharing some benchmarks of this PC along with a video on the 3080 Ti Supreme X in a separate video once I reinstall Windows in this, so you can subscribe if you want to see that, and you can also check out some of my even more special builds. So do let me know what you think about this build in the comment section below. I am not generally into naming my PCs, but you can leave a suggestion that you think fits it well. I'll have links to buy all of this in the video description. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it or a thumbs down if you disliked it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in some really exciting upcoming videos.